Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Punch, Kick, Choke, Chat. My name is Sean Benson. I'm one of your hosts, and I'm so excited about tonight. This is our year-end hosts chat, and it's so exciting that we get to reflect on the year and look at what's coming up for next year. And there's no better way to do it than just the four of us, just getting down to it and engaging you as we go. We'll talk about that in a little sec. So I just want to talk about my co-hosts. I'm here with Hanchi Legacy and Sensei Suino, and we were talking before the show. I mean, both of these gentlemen have been training martial arts for over 50 years. And then Sensei Dofan and I were talking about it. He's been at it for 34, 35. And Hanchi Legacy, if you don't hit 30 years, you're not serious. As of New Year, I started in 1993. So as of New Year's this year, I'm going to get a shirt that says, "I'm fucking serious." And then Hanchi, maybe you can sign it.
I'm not a quitter.
I'm not a quitter.
Scary legacy. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So that's what's going on with us tonight. We're going to jump right into some chats. I'm going to throw it over to Sensei Dofan. He's got a word or two before we do a little housekeeping.
Hey, Sean, I think we should get some new PKCC merch that says "I'm not a quitter." Like,
oh my God, yes.
30 years in, and then Sensei Legacy can sign it or whatever. I think that would be awesome merch. I think people would want it for sure.
I have a white spot there where I can sign it.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's just
okay. We're on it. That'll be done within a matter of days.
Right. And they can send for them and I'll sign.
And I think something like, if you can prove you've been in martial arts at least 30 years, the shirt's like $50. And if you can't prove it, you can still buy the shirt for $200.
Yeah. Love it. So this is what I want to go. I want to start out with something. I want to start out with, I'd like to hear Sensei Legacy and Sensei Suino. I'm going to start with something. I'd like us all to say something, a fond memory about Sensei Benson, because he often doesn't get the light shined on him because he's introducing all the rest of us. And I got a good thing to jump out on because I got to say I was really proud of Sean this week. He came down, did a karate class here on Tuesday night. A couple weeks ago, he came and fought. I got nothing but positivity from the students here in the Kitchener Dojo. They all were like, wow, Sensei Benson is such a good fighter. He's so compassionate, which is something new, because normally the thing would be, I don't want to fight that guy. He hurts me too much. But all the white and yellow belts and green belts are like, loved fighting with him. And then he slept on the sofa. And we're going to go to, as people know, I've been dabbling in grappling arts, BJJ, for about 6 months now. And my coach in Cambridge hurt his knee, legit, and so we couldn't go to the 7 a.m. class. So Sean's a legit purple belt and in BJJ, which, if you don't know, that's a high rank. That's not like a low rank. And I said, Sean, why don't we just go here and do a class? And I invited another one of my friends who is slightly ahead of me in BJJ. And he had nothing but positivity to say about Sean. He was like, that was outstanding. Like, I love that class. I got like 10 text messages. And I was really proud of you, Sean. I just want to say, thank you for that lesson. That was a great lesson. I learned stuff. I went to the noon class. I was able to implement some of the stuff that you taught me in the morning. Awesome. And I'm really proud of you, and thank you. And so, yeah, Sensei Suino, what do you want to say about Sean? Let's have a love-in for Sean for the next 5 minutes.
Sean Benson love-in. That's cool.
You, very much.
I love the fact that the thing that the door that opened for Sean to step into the grappling world was at the Crucible at JMAC many years ago. He tells that story with fondness, and I really like having been a small part of that journey with him. And I keep coming back to the fighting seminars I've been to at Legacy Martial Arts, where Hanchi has taught, and both of those seminars I've been to in the last couple of years, I've partnered up with Sean, and we've done the fighting in the midst of the training, and it's super fun. Sean is very challenging for me because I have T-Rex arms, but also because he's way better at striking than I am. And he hasn't killed me yet. And one of these days we'll roll together, and he won't kill me there either, I'm pretty sure.
That's gonna happen, I think, at February 25th.
Yes, sir. That's the plan. Yep.
Cross arms. Since Legacy, what do you want to say about Sean Benson?
Well, I always said that I would always pick a smart guy, an intelligent person over a tough guy. And that's Sean's case. Sean is an intelligent guy. He, and never once has he ever brought students to me to be graded that they weren't like 9 out of 10 or better. He has excellent students. So not only can he do it, he can pass it on. And that's, for martial arts, that's a very, very important gift, because we have to make martial arts better. We have to, the benefits that we got from it, we want to pass that on. And we also want to put our own lean on, our own tastes. And Sean is doing that. Not only that, I'll tell you about another time. Him and I, he was the star of a movie and I was an extra for fun. I just wanted to see what it was like. We're doing this garage scene where we walk into, it was a motorcycle. It was like about the outlaws and different motorcycle guys. And I was in his gang. He was the president. He was a bit in the show. He was a bit on speed, etc. So we walked into this garage and we're meeting this other gang. I think it was the Outlaws, not sure, but it was just a show, right? And the garage door closes behind us and we were told not to guns. And then these guys all pulled guns on us. And Sean went into his spiel about that. And then when it was over, when the guy said, cut, you know, and the garage door opened and everything, everybody left, but I sort of stood around and everything. And I saw the director stand up and look at the cameraman. He said, we're so lucky to have you. So I thought that was a pretty big comment on the guy he was working for.
Thanks.
So-
Thanks.
Like you do one thing, you do everything else, right?
So Sean, before you take this away, I guess one of the points I want to make is Sean doesn't often he's good at shining the light on all the rest of us and the guests. He does a great job of that. But the four of us and Robert, who's off camera, we have a deep history, a deep history. We're all an extreme part of each other's lives, and it's good. I just really wanted to start the show at the end of this year with all of us shining a little light on Sean, because I know we all love him dearly, and awesome martial artist. So Sean, now don't cry and then do your housekeeping stuff.
Okay, thank you. I'm not going to cry tonight because of what you asked this week, which is, what's the point of accepting rank? And my answer was humility. And it's a real act of humility to just say, thank you, I accept. So I really appreciate that, senseis. I accept. So everybody watching, thank you for listening to that. I really appreciate it. We're so freaking happy you're here. And when you're here on the live Zoom call for a host chat, you get a sort of extra benefit of being part of our living history, because when you ask a question, with your permission, we hope you just fundamentally agree. We want to put the camera on you. So we'll turn your computer on. You'll be a part of the show. You'll ask us your question, but maybe we'll ask it back, or we'll riff with you a bit, because we want to know where you're at as well. And to the people who aren't watching in real time, Robert just threw up the button at the bottom. You can see that if you're here. And for those of you not watching in real time on Zoom, on any podcast platform, on YouTube, we really love that you're following this ride with us. We were talking today on one of the shorts we were recording. We looked at our stats this year. The subscriptions are way up, the comments, the engagements, that kind of thing. And that stuff really does matter. And when you share it and when you tell your friend about this show, or you put it on while you're driving, it's a beautiful thing. We're doing this because we want to, but as the audience grows and people message us and get something from it, it means the world. So we're really happy you're here with us in real time. If you're not with us in real time, subscribe, like, share, and we're really grateful for that. And again, since we were talking about the intro, you're listening to four adults chat, and I'm just going to leave it at that. That's all that's happening, and you're in the back seat of this big car.
We're not allowed to say the tagline. Consensus Reno doesn't like it, so we have to start saying it.
We're moving to the light. We're moving to the light.
Where are we going? What's the first topic? Who wants to kick it off, or who wants to ask a question?
Well, how about some memories from 2022? The show has been great. I don't know that you have to confine the memories to the show. Maybe something else about martial arts or something that's risen out of all of our relationships and the work we've been doing over the last 3 years to build the wonderful martial arts experiences that we've all been able to have.
Who do you want to punch that to first, Sensasvino?
I'm going to punch it back to Sean.
Great. You know, I'm ready to go because I know my answer. Like my gut just says Capital Conquest. And part of the reason is that, you know, when I went years ago and that was part of Hanshi being inducted in the Black Belt Hall of Fame, it was super cool, but I wasn't necessarily engaged with it. And then what a difference a pandemic makes, you know, like I hate to put it that way in case somebody had a struggle, but, you know, Sensei Suino, you and I think is the biggest example of getting closer through this. I think we've always liked each other and I've always respected you so deeply. But the idea that I call you a friend and it actually is real when we see each other at those events, there's a real stamp to it. And, you know, the level of engagement I got to have because of this show, you know, people recognizing me and us from the show and just the genuine, the community, not as something that I'm kind of a part of with you, but not necessarily at large, to feel totally connected. Even if I haven't necessarily met somebody, I know I'm in the center of it. I'm not sort of trying to get into anything. And just the sheer magnitude of how much martial arts was happening for me. So for me, that's something that we've sort of partnered with Hanshi Terry and with our show and with promoting and the World Martial Arts Live. And that's another event when we did the spring seminar in person. So those two seminars for me, the one in Kitchener and the one in Ottawa, I can't think of anything that matches that, simply because it put us all in a room together. And we talked about that for years, right? Like we just kept saying, oh, Guru Scaleberg, it's so nice to meet you. Can't wait to meet you. And then we just do. And then it's actually better than we thought it would be. And he's just one example of 50. So for me, it was those two events by far.
Cool. Hanshi, what about you? Last year, highlights of martial arts wise or for this show?
Actually, you know, for me, because I'm looking at the big picture, this show did a lot for my dojos because I'm not much of an advertiser or things like that. We were known really well in Canada and the United States, but it seems to have spread worldwide. That's because of Randy's work. And, you know, if somebody says to me, and this is on the light side, well, Randy's a better teacher than you. If he is, then I'm better than him because I helped get him there. And that's really, that's my final gift to the martial arts. I can go to heaven.
That's beautiful. He can never catch you now.
I can go to heaven and feel like things are in good hands.
100%. Well, let's hope it doesn't happen anytime soon. Randy, last year in the 2022 highlights for you, punch, kick, choke, chat, or otherwise?
Yeah, there's a like we've just done things have accelerated so much. Like, you know, what's one of the benefits of COVID? Like, I mean, there's a lot of downsides, but a lot of space was created during COVID. And one of the things I'm really proud about is that we boldly filled that space, right? Like we boldly filled that space. As soon as somebody gave an inch of ground, we moved forward and we helped to take that space. So that's really cool. You know, personally, I just want to say one thing about Legacy Shiranuru is since Legacy had the opportunity to grade Scott Bauer into his 9th degree black belt, it's pretty cool when an association can be around long enough for somebody to have 2 people who are red belts. So that stands out in my mind as something, right? That's pretty cool. You know, the May training camp, I gotta say, I'm pretty proud to have like worked with that group of people to pull that together and get that group of people on the floor, and the reviews that we got. And, you know, since, you know, you and I talked about it about 5 years before that at your kitchen table, right? Like, this is something we got to do. And it was really cool to see it kind of happen. So that was cool. Again, the hotel lobby of Capital Conquest was like Event Horizon, right? It was like you could not come out of that elevator and not bump into somebody who was going to hug you, tackle you to the ground, talk to you about punch, kick, choke, chat, like something. Like the training floor was great, but the stuff off of the floor was even more great for me. Like to be able to connect those people like Lauren Bernard and Johan Skelberg and Mike Wall, you know, Hanshi Saeed, like just, it is really was legit. Like it wasn't like fake. Like when you saw those people and they hugged you and came up to you, like it was genuine. It wasn't fake. And we really have done something global right now. And I'm super proud of that from 2022 going into 2023. And I'm pumped about what we're going to, people are joking now saying, you guys are going to take over the world. Like I've heard that a couple of times now. And yeah, I might be drinking the Kool-Aid and thinking that we might be able to do it. So
I love that.
how about you, Cecilino, what stands out for you for 2022?
It has been an incredible year in so many respects. After almost having to close JMAC during COVID because of some insanity in our governmental regulations, we proceeded to grow faster than we've ever grown in our history. JMAC is bigger now. We have a bigger membership. We're one student short of where we need to be. And that student is on this call right now.
Mark Altamar, get your ass back to the dojo.
But what I love the fact that you said Event Horizon. Let me paint the picture for people that weren't at Capital Conquest. So 90% of the people that participated in that event stayed at the hotel nearby where the event was. And so you'd walk into the hotel lobby, which wasn't that big. There were like 3 couches, the reception desk, and then a little diner kind of access to the side. And at times there'd be 50, 60, 70 people in there, and many of them knew each other. Many of them had just met for the first time. And there were people that were, kind of like Canadian legitimately Canadian martial arts royalty, right? So many members of the Canadian Black Belt Hall of Fame. I don't think I understood just how incredibly good Hanshi Tarian is at promoting an event. I mean, he put together this just absolutely amazing event. And, hugely, Jean-Yves Theriault, Billy Blanks. I mean, I could go on and on in terms of the high profile names that were there. So it was just this magic, right? And on the one hand, you had like a legitimate kickboxing event with a legacy fighter who acquitted himself very well. And on the other hand, you had people hugging each other and going, holy shit, we've only talked on Zoom for 2 years. How cool is it to see you? So it was just a remarkable event in every way imaginable. So I guess, the whole year has been a great highlight for me personally, but that was the where the prism, right, where all the colors of the prism come together and go from white into a rainbow of colors. It was an amazing day.
That's well good.
I just want to chip in real quick because the one thing we didn't do tonight was the intros as long as we like to. And I love that we've tightened it up a little bit. I was going to talk about Sensei Suino. I know you'll attribute this to someone else, but the speed of implementation idea that has guided it's sort of been one of the North Stars of this show. There's an idea, go. And I think so much of what's come from not just the show, but from our community and embracing other things and is just going, well, if we're going to do it, go. What's the plan? Let's reverse engineer, go. And I love that. I've adapted that in my own personal life lately. And the one thing I love about it is it kind of makes you go, or just don't do it. Like, don't have it on a list for a year, and that's a really beautiful and freeing thing.
Just before Sensei Suino comments on it, that's Don Pryor who came up with that, not him.
Well, I was going to say that, but now I don't have to.
But yeah, that's a good point though. Sensei Suino, I remember when, when we started Punch Kick Choke Chat, I think I talked to you, you were the first one I talked to and said, look, COVID, we got to keep the community together. We got to stay relevant. Like, people have bugged you and I to do a podcast for a while. How do we do this? We talked about it. We talked about getting Sean involved because of his pedigree. We were worried about Sense of Legacy not wanting to be involved. How we were going to get him involved, right? And then I said, okay, well, let's plan for next month. And to Sean's point, you said, no, let's plan for next week. And then that speed of implementation, right? The next week we were like, I was in Sense of Legacy's garage on Zoom on one side with a phone, and like it was freezing cold. And then Sensei was on there, and then after he was like, yeah, I'll do this. And then it all just kind of took off from there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been, I can't remember what date we started on, but it was 2020. So we're working on 3 years of this show, huh?
Within 5 years, we're going to be bigger than Rogan.
Yeah, well, I think that we've got a good mix, and sometimes when people go off, sometimes we all know how to bring them back, and and we also stand firm on being classical martial artists. Sometimes people try to snowball us, but we don't let that happen. We stand behind our martial arts and our classical martial arts, and I think it's made us all stronger, but at the same time, work really well together as a group.
Sense of Legacy, before, if anybody wants to buy our show for $200 million and get us to keep doing it, we will do an entire episode of the top 5 worst shows.
That's a fair reveal price.
Yeah,
You can hack our phones for that hour.
there's a couple of times where we had to swallow our pride, I guess, and just let it roll.
Yeah, if people don't know, if you're not aware, we're often texting and messaging each other during the show, right? Like, so if you see one of us like covering our mouth, it's because somebody said something to somebody else that's causing us to laugh. Yeah.
That is one thing I love. And I think I would have been more argumentative or contrarian without our fundamental concept of we're here to promote the arts in general while not necessarily signing off on any single human's opinions. And I think that's a really beautiful thing, so that people can go off a little. And I love that we don't then go, A, you're crazy, or B, try and make anyone look bad, even if we disagree. And that's something that I've actually learned that as a man in the world. Like, oh, right, you don't need to challenge every moment that you disagree with, and you don't need to prove that everybody, it's not an embarrassment if you're having a conversation with someone and they're saying something weird and someone over here is like, we're putting stuff out that we believe in our show, but we don't necessarily believe in everything said on it. I think that's really healthy.
Hey, listen, Sean, if there was another member of Punch Kick Choke Chat, he wants to come on and wish us all a happy holiday. So
that'd be lovely.
So
You all know who this is.
if you can you turn the camera on for Sensei Copeland, who's on the call right now, please? There he is. Now we're all less good looking instantly. How are you, Sensei Copeland?
Got to mute, sir.
Yeah, you're
Unmute yourself.
muted. Sensei. Let's
How about now?
yeah, you're good. Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm absolutely fantastic, and I see you 4 gentlemen looking absolutely gorgeous. So I would just I need to wish them a happy holiday season, and God bless your family and your close other member, like everybody that's close to you. Listen, you got to be present with them over the holiday season.
Yeah.
Just be with them, be present with them.
So you know what's going to happen then, Sensei Copeland? We're all driving to your place after, because we got to be present. We got to be present with you.
No, listen, I have room. My door is open. Obviously, Sense of Legacy comes in first, but my door is open. And so during the week earlier, I pre-prep my meals, so I'm all set. We got food for everybody.
Wow.
That's
There
a
you go.
Copeland.
Sir.
What's going on June 17th? What should we be talking about on June 17th?
Yep.
You know, um,
Yeah, let us know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, besides planning for the Matsumura Challenge, we're also planning for which is on February the 18th, I believe. And then there is the Crucible February the 25th, which is in Ann Arbor. There is also June 17th in Windsor, the Windsor Open Karate Championship. And that's going to be awesome because it's been 3 years since we've ran it. And that tournament has been running since 1994. And it's always been at the same venue, the University of Windsor. Now, they just happened to revamp that whole university physical complex, but we're still in the same big gym area. So it's going to be awesome.
Can't wait. If there's only 2 tournaments in the world I can ever compete in or go to again, it's the Matsumura Challenge and the Windsor Open. And everybody on this call is going to be there, and anybody who's watching should get your ass there.
Yep.
Well, you know, I don't think did I compete last time you had Matsumura?
No, I remember the last time you competed, Sensei Kova, in my mind was
the World Championships.
no, he did compete at the Matsumura Challenge, but you had pink equipment on, and the finals was you against Wilfred Seratin.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you and Wilfred were fighting each other, and you know, Wilfred's
Great
like,
match too.
it was a great match. He was an outstanding competitor. That
Oh,
guy,
he is absolutely.
yes, amazing. And I just remember watching it going, this is like, again, like you said this, Sensei Copeland, like your job is to come and compete. You don't know who you're going to compete against. And here we are. We're in London, Ontario, watching 2 elite competitors fight each other in the final of a match. Like it was
That was good. That was good. So yes, on the 18th at the Matsumura Challenge, I might compete.
well, then I'm not going to compete.
Yeah, don't tell people that. We're trying to promote the thing.
We just lost 20 black belt competitors. Just dropped
Seriously,
off.
though.
Like I'm not coming now.
Seriously though.
No,
right.
it's going to be a great time. I'm not going to compete.
All right. So I don't want you to give away any secrets, but I'm going to turn us to our next topic. And I'll start with you, Sensei Copeland. What's one thing, and this is, I want to limit this to strictly physical training. Like what is one thing that you're focused on doing in 2023? Like continue to do certain kata, do more kettlebells, spar more. Like what is one thing that you think is that you're excited about that you're gonna pursue in 2023?
What a great question. You know what? I just finished my class, and this was the last class. So the ending speech then was take all the katas you know. If you know 5, if you know 6, it doesn't matter how many. I mean, we only have 12 in our system anyway, so it's not that bad. And then you just divide them into groups. Could be groups of 3s, groups of 4, groups of 2. And you do one group each day, and you cycle through all the katas you know throughout the entire year. Every day you're going to do a group of kata that you have, you know, in your repertoire. And that's what mine is going to be. Keeping them fresh, keeping them relevant. And when you do kata, you're flexing. You have endurance, you got balance. You know, there's quick twitch muscles. There's every aspect of, you know, conditioning is in your kata. So why not do those?
Why not? Why not? Benson, 2023 training. It's got to be limited to physical training. What is something that you're going to pursue or focus on?
No problem. Both Hanshi Legacy and Sensei Dauphin already know this. So I blew up my meniscus last April, and I rebuilt it doing my knees over toes work as well as my martial arts. And what I was talking to both of them about is the fact that a couple modifications have crept in because I didn't stop training. Like literally, I tore my meniscus on the 26th of April. On the 27th, we were down doing White Crane and St. Thomas together. I just moved a little differently because it wasn't a locked meniscus. So my year, and I hadn't even thought about the 30-year thing, but it's a perfect bit of timing for it, is to go back and brush through every move of every kata, like I'm a white belt, like I'm a yellow belt, like move up through with the type of specificity and rigor with which I learned those katas. So that I don't let a 47-year-old dude's sore knee alter karate for me. I actually have the opportunity, because of how I've rebuilt my knee, to be stronger next year than I was 10 years ago. And I want to make sure that I haven't added anything that shouldn't be there, and that I'm just using karate itself to rebuild from the inside out as well. So I'm so stoked for that, by the way. Like, I'm vibrating with the excitement of working through that for a year.
Very cool.
That's like a year-long thing. That's not like I'll do it for 3 classes. Like, but at the end of this year, I want to be a true master of those kata.
Well, take it from someone who's out here on the foothills of senility. That's a good skill set to have as you get older. Hachi, what are you going to focus on in 2023 as far as your training?
Yeah, well, I've just finished a 30 some years, maybe 33 years of learning the white crane. So I had to sort of ease off on my shorin katas. And, you know, now sometimes I forget not the kata, but the opening, like the posture. So I'm going to have to go back in there and get the cobwebs out of the closet, so to speak, and bring my shorin back up to par with the white crane. That is my intention for the next year.
Nice. Love it. Randy, something physical. What are you going to focus on in 2023?
I'll be a contrarian. Nothing different. I'm going to be doing the same fucking stuff I've been doing. It's been working so far. Like, Sense of Copeland and Sense of Legacy, or you haven't come to me lately and said, you need to start doing this more. So I'm going to keep doing what I've been doing because it seems to be working. Yeah. I do lots of physical fitness. I do lots of kickboxing. I do lots of karate. I do lots of Iaido. I'm doing grappling stuff now. I'm not sure how much room I have for something else. So I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing right now. Physically, that's what I'm going to keep doing.
Well, I will tell you something you are going to be doing differently, because I'm going to be doing the same thing. The first 75 days of the year, I'm going to be doing the 75 hard, which is a cool discipline. Let's see if we can rattle them off, because I want everybody on this call to do it too. So you have to pick a healthy diet.
Yes, whatever one works for you.
Yep. Drink a gallon of water a day.
Yep. 3 liters in Canadian.
3 liters in Canadian, which is worth about 87 cents. 2 workouts a day, one of which is supposed to be outdoors.
Has to be outdoors.
Has to be outdoors. Well, listen, I understand some people are going to modify this for their own nefarious purposes. You have to read 10 pages of nonfiction a day. Yep. You have to take a progress pick every day. What have I forgotten?
No alcohol.
No alcohol. I forgot that because I'm already doing no alcohol this year. But
the challenge, right? Like I can't drink beer.
Why?
An easy one for me.
What was that one before the no alcohol?
You have to read 10 pages of nonfiction a day. Did you get that one?
After that.
That was you have to take a progress picture every day.
A progress picture.
Yeah, because
to me, Sensei Copeland.
What's that?
Sensei Copeland, you have to text it to me.
Don't do it, Sensei Copeland. Don't do it.
Yeah, man, that's not going to end well.
Then you need to think about what he's doing with that picture after you send it to him. And
Think about it. Think about what I'm doing with it. Think about it while you're creating it for me.
Foul ball.
Yeah. So listen, Sensei Suino, it's interesting that you bring it up, because we need to mention that Brad Fowler is the one who brought this to our attention, right? The champ Brad Fowler. And I actually was talking to him about it today. And what he wants to do some charity stuff, and so he's looking for people who want to do it to contribute $100 to a charity. And what I said to him is, we'll get a GoFundMe going, and then people can contribute $100, but then other people can pile on that. And then what he said is, because if you don't, if you break, like, let's say you're at day 70 and you break, you got to start over at day 1. Right? And
Well,
what
listen,
he said
that-
was, if you put $100 in to start, wherever you break, you got to add a 0 to that. And then you got to start over.
well, listen, we got to have him on the show to talk about it.
Yep.
In early 2023, and B, I'll just contribute more because I'm not going to break.
I'm not going to break either. No chance.
Not a chance in hell.
There's 0 chance I'm going to break.
Yep.
I'll tell you a modification I'm going to do out of the gate. I read so much nonfiction. I don't read enough fiction. I'm swapping that. I'll take my licks for doing it, but it's a more of an improvement for me to actually get back to reading novels than self-help, history, this, that, because I devour that stuff. But the novels actually stimulate me.
As your instructor, what I'm going to tell you is don't modify it, just add to it.
Sounds good.
Read your damn 10 pages of
10 pages.
nonfiction, and then read whatever you want, and then tell everybody else you did more.
Works for me.
Perfect.
If you're gonna be my sensei about it, I agree.
You have to be. Have to be.
That's
don't
what I
like
am
you.
always first.
I don't like you guys anymore.
That's a lie.
All right, gentlemen, have yourself a nice holiday.
Sensei, happy
Thank you so
holidays.
much. Absolutely. I love you all equally.
Love you, man.
Love you too,
All right.
Sensei, so much. Yeah.
Sensei.
You guys be safe and take care of your family and stay well.
Yes. Thank you, Sensei. You too.
Good night.
I love that. We literally had on our list, can we get him on hopefully? And then he asked.
Yeah. If there was another member of Punch Kick Choke Chat, it's him.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe he'll pay us the 200 million.
Ooh.
So then do we go now, Sensei Suino, to what are we looking forward to next year? What's
Well, do you-
happening? We talked about it, but like, why do we want to get into it?
The list of events, you mean?
Yes, just shit that's happening. I mean, somebody asked me today, could you do this? And I said, not before July.
Right? I'm with you. Yeah. So let's let these people know, because
Yeah.
everybody in our community should know. So I think the first thing that's coming up is the February 18th Matsumoto Challenge, London, Ontario. Who wants to talk more about those details?
Well, Sensei Leishi should talk about it first, but the first thing for me is the students here paying their dues. That's the
Oh.
number one thing for me. Students need to pay their dues here. But Sensei Leishi, why don't you talk about the Matsumoto Challenge, which was once the Funakoshi Classic, and how you started it and where it's
Yeah.
come to, and let's go into that a little bit.
Well, it was really because we started to get more and more clubs in our association. So we just wanted to instead of just training, we wanted to get into competition. We wanted to get good people to come and challenge. And that's why I call it the Matsumoto Challenge, because we challenged them to come and make us better by fighting, doing good kata. And the next thing you know, guys like Wilfred Saratin and Sensei Copeland, they started coming in. Like we even had the world champion. We surprised him a little bit, but he came in and Randy handled that pretty well. And so it's just started to snowball, so to speak, where people would use us if they were going to a world championship or if they had a big tournament they were going to attend in the United States. They would come to our dojo as a warm-up, so that made us feel good. And one time, Bill Adams said, you know, you guys are as good as anybody out there in second and third place across the world. So that was a big compliment if you think about that. But, you know, in other words, he's saying the world, you may not beat the world champions because we don't claim to be the best. We just playing to do our best. So it just, people started to recognize that we put out a good quality, and good quality people came to compete with us. And then instead of starting to have to hunt them down, they just came to our Shiai. I still call it a Shiai as opposed to a tournament, because it was just meant to be friendly, no cheating. Everybody knows they're getting a fair shake, you know. So we built our way in that, like that. And then Randy is now taking it over, and he's getting a wider audience.
Yeah, you know, on that note though, Sensei, one of the things about it is if you show up at the door and you weren't invited, you're not getting in.
Oh
This
yeah,
is-
that's the other thing. We didn't.
Yeah, this is not an open tournament. You're not if you're watching this and you're thinking, I'm going to the Matsumura Challenge. No, you're not. No, you're not.
Guys, yeah.
Unless you get invited, you're not coming. This is an invitational tournament, not an open tournament. And that's because of what Sensei Legacy said. The history is about a celebration of martial arts, not about, you know, the people that I've competed against there. Listen, that was my first black belt victory ever in the black belt division. That's the first time I ever won a black belt tournament. And I won it a number of times. And I'm really proud of that because the competition was extremely good. But I'll tell you also, the people that I competed against, they're some of the best friends I ever met in my life, because it's an invitational, not because you're just trying to collect your trophy and move to the next thing that makes you feel good. No, we all feel good when we leave the Matsumura Challenge. Everybody feels good when they leave. And like Sensei Legacy said too, it's extremely fair. I'll tell you now that Sensei Legacy is the arbitrator of his tournament, meaning the referees that we have, the center referees that referee, people like Sensei Copeland, Doug Knispel, always center referees for us. You know, Bill Adams has been center referee for us. They do not cheat. They don't cheat. Karate always wins. The martial art always wins. And if somebody tries to cheat, Sensei Legacy walks right in the ring and says, you're out, you're in. And that's the way it works. That's what happens. So
And don't come back.
And don't come back. Yeah. Yeah. I love our tournament. I'm really proud to be helping to keep moving it forward. I'm really proud of that. And I'm always going to keep that event is a great one. Sensei Suino, you've been to it. Like I remember you and Dan Holland and Nick Miller did a great demo. Yeah. What are your memories of it?
Oh man, I have great memories of the tournament. Of course, I think, you know, my all-time favorite is when I was doing an Iaido demo, and I can't remember how many, 5 or 7 forms with no Ki, and then I, facing an audience of 200 people in the bleachers, I did a Ki on my final form, and everybody in the whole audience went up and down. I'll never forget that. That was so cool. I also met Hanshi Montalvo at that tournament. As well as a number of other people. I met Sensei Richard Kim, I don't know at the tournament, but in that peripheral environment. And many legacy Shorin-ryu practitioners, not all of whom are still with us. I just have a great memory of the.
Do we have an EI? Excuse me. Do we have an EI division this year?
Not this year, Sensei, but I need to, Sensei Suino and I have talked about that. That's a good thing. We've talked about, it would be really good to do Katsuo Yamaguchi Memorial Iaido tournament. And if we could pair that with the Matsumura Challenge in a separate room where people are coming together, I really think we could pull that off. And I think it would be it would only add, and we definitely Sensei Legacy should be doing that. If you and Sensei Suino feel that that needs to happen, then for sure we need to make that happen. Yeah.
Well, that's great. And I think one of the ways we can get that started is by what we're doing in March. So when we get to March, because we got so much to talk about, let's talk about that. Anything else any of you want to share about the Matsumura challenge?
Oh, I'm sure Benson's got a lot of stuff to talk about. Like, I'm sure he does.
You know, for me, it's actually simple. I mean, look, I'm so proud of that tournament and my time at it. I've won the black belt division. I've lost ones that are frustrating. But I actually wanted to ask you, Sensei Suino, while I'm telling this next little story, if you can remember in the early 90s when you were there, because I know that when I was either a white or a yellow belt, I was at that demo. And I wonder, maybe that was 94, but it's actually one of the most memorable things for me is that I was really new at lifting weights when I was a white or possibly yellow belt. And I didn't realize that there was a 48-hour muscle delay. And if I went for a maximum straight leg deadlift on a Thursday, and I was competing in a tournament on a Saturday, that was going to be a problem. And so I ended up competing again, either as a white or yellow, and I couldn't get my leg above hip height because my hamstrings were just knotted, torn, and tight. And I finally stretched out enough, whatever enough. And all I remember is the guy I was fighting in my first fight, and my brother and his now wife came, and we square off, and we bowed to each other. And it might have been Sensei Chuck. He goes, Hajime. And the guy goes to bow to me again as I'm launching to kick him. So I get a point because he's bowing as I'm basically kicking him in the chest. And I remember it was his fault, but I remember my legs hurt like crazy and I felt like a douchebag taking advantage of his bow, even though it was his fault because I didn't clock it because I'd already launched. So that's actually, aside from, I remember you very particularly, Sensei Suino, those memories stick with me as much as the later ones and the victories, just these quirky little moments being a younger competitor.
It's funny you remind me of that because I was lifting very heavy in those days with my buddy Doc Spears. And I am within, I don't know, I'm not going to say how long, but I'm very close to having a book out about that system of weightlifting that we were doing. So it's cool that this stuff comes full circle, sometimes in a year and sometimes in 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you know if that was 94, 95? Do you remember it all? You were not that specific. No.
I'm the wrong guy to ask questions
Okay,
like
cool.
that. No freaking idea.
It was later than that, Sean. So that
Right.
tournament when he did that demo, actually, Chris Colvert, who is now a black belt under Sensei Legacy, that was his first white belt competition. And the reason why I know that is because it was my son's first
Okay.
I
tournament.
remember Benny. Yep.
And that, man, if people don't mind me like talking a little bit about a funny story, like I remember people not knowing at that time, like standing there trying to stand back. Benjamin was 5 years old. He's competing, he's fighting. And he's fighting this other kid and it's scrambly, right? Like the other kid's a bit scrambly. These are 5 or 6 year old white belts. And Benjamin scores a punch and they stop. And then the guy next to me is like, that's fucking unbelievable. My kid's killing that kid. Like he's saying this, right? And I'm like, I don't say anything, right? I'm like, and so then there's another like scrambly thing. Bang, my kid's killing that kid. That kid sucks compared to my kid. And so then after my son wins, the guy who is standing with the father of this kid looks over and goes, like, I can see his eyes get wide because he recognizes me, right? And he whispers to the guy. And then the other guy looks at me and I'm like, dude, it's okay. Like, don't worry, right? And he's like, I'm really sorry. I'm just passionate about my kid. I'm like, me too, man. Like, no problem. Like, I said, if you want to know why your kid lost to my kid, let me know. And he's like, I'd really like to know. And I said, okay, look, your kid like did 72 things and my kid did one thing that scored. And that's one of the reasons why my kid won. And I said, do you want to know the second reason why my kid won? And he goes, what's that? I said, because he lives with a professional martial arts teacher and your kid doesn't. And the guy just started laughing and shook my hand, and that was the end of it.
There you
Right?
go.
Yeah.
Love it. That's funny you say that. I remember that fight is you had pointed out to me that he was going to fight that day. And to this day, I remember Benny fighting. It's so cool.
Yeah, he was the only 5-year-old that had like you, Sensei Legacy, Hanchi Montalvo, John Pearson was standing at the ring. Like he had like so many original gangsters just standing there watching this 5-year-old fight, and everybody was probably thinking, like, why is the 5-year-old white belt division the one that everybody's paying attention to?
Hanshi, do you have a question? I see you looking at your paper. If not, we'll go to one we got that came in from one of our viewers.
Oh, no, that's fine. I'll go along with that.
No, Sensei, what do you want to talk about? Because I know you have thoughts and I want to hear it. Like, personally, I do. Yeah. The question can come later. The other person, they can wait while you talk about.
Yep.
I want to hear you.
I don't really have anything at this time, just the religion thing about when you come to a martial arts school, you leave your religion at the door simply because it may interrupt the training, or like I've had, with respect, I have religions where I couldn't touch the student, or I'm wondering if they could touch you, or like how, because martial arts is a physical thing, right? And I just want to ask everybody, what do you do when someone comes in and their religion is against doing certain things, but it limits us to being able to teach somebody? When you're going in there, unless, pardon me for saying this again with a small g, you know, if you think God's going to save you in a fight, well, just go jump off a 3-story building and see if he'll save you. It's not like that. It's more realistic as far as this life goes. And I'm not saying there isn't a God. I'm just saying in a martial arts dojo, you go there to be physical in some parts. I mean, it's all physical. A lot of it is mental and even spiritual. So that was basically my question. How do you handle that at your dojo as an instructor?
Who do you want to answer that first, Sensei, even though you know what my answer will be?
I'll go with Sensei Suino, because he maybe have a different answer because he has a different club mentality.
Yeah, I don't know that I do have a different answer. Everybody has their religion, but there's certain behavior that you have to take part in a martial arts school. In traditional martial arts begins and ends with a bow. Not everybody's religion allows them to bow to anything other than certain concepts or deities. But at JMAC, you have to participate fully. You not only have to bow beginning and end of class and to each other when you train, but I have to believe you're sincere when you do so. You have to be willing and able to touch other students, be they male or female. And you have to be kind, and you have to adapt to the culture of JMAC. If you don't, we invite you to the door. So we don't discriminate against any religion, and we don't make any allowances for them, because the nature of martial arts is that if you want it, you come to it, right? As I believe, Hanshi, you have said, you don't come to the dojo to change the dojo. You come to the dojo so the dojo changes you. And I think that's true. It doesn't take away from anybody's religion. It just exists it kind of separately from.
Yeah, that's a good answer. That was my answer to basically how I feel about it.
If you don't mind, Sensei, I'm going to chip in because I've had a couple of people come recently. I've had students who, here's an example of something that is a bit awkward, but it doesn't really involve the training. It's just involves accepting somebody into the dojo when somebody's transitioning from male to female or female to male, right? Like, I'm like, that's cool. That's your thing. You can do that if you want, and I'll help with that. Like, if you want, how do I help you with changing, getting in the change room? How do I help you with communicating this to people? Like, or do you want me to? Like, that's all good. Like, I got no problem with that. But we say religion, but I'd say religion or culture, right? Like religion, culture. And we as classical martial artists have our own culture. And I don't think that we need to change our culture for another culture unless they're willing to at least meet somewhere or understand, right? Like, it's not incumbent on me to understand something about somebody else that they're not willing to understand about me. And I guess that's where I take it, right? When it comes to the curriculum and the training, right? Like, I'm not going to change the training and the curriculum. I'm just not going to, because there's a purpose behind it, right? The purpose behind, like you said, you jump off a building, right? Like, you better have a damn parachute, right? Like that's, or a bungee cord or a rope or something, right? And in here, we're training people to, you stand on the sidewalk, somebody walks up to you. Well, you got to put the other shit aside and you got to be able to take care of that situation, no matter what your culture or your background is. And so that's where I take it. When people come here and they say, this person can't touch this person, this person can't do this, I'm like, this isn't the right place for you. I'm sorry. Like, I'd like to help you, but I can't help you with what I know and what I want to do. Right. So sorry, like, I respect what you want to do, but that's not going to work here. Right. And then go in peace, go with God. Right.
Yeah, mine's not much different, Hunchy. I mean, I really, I don't think everything's for everybody. Everybody should have the chance to do it, but they have to do the thing then. And it's really that simple for me. It's, you know, everybody's welcome, but if you can't do the thing and what the thing involves, then not everything's for everybody. And it'd be like going, oh, I'm going to go race cars, but I don't want to use gas. It's like, okay, well, then you're not going to be in the gas car racing community, but you're allowed to be, and you're welcome, but you have to do the act of putting gas in the car in a way that isn't a problem for you. And if you can't, there's other things you can go do. And it's that simple for me, because you know how much I love and respect anybody who isn't a violent jerk. But not everything's for everybody, and that's okay. And I don't want to get too cultural about it, but I think people have lost that idea. It's like, if you're welcome, then that's all that needs to be done in terms of fairness and societal love. But the thing doesn't have to change for you.
Yeah, you know, Ben's, the other thing I would add, I'd pile on a little bit to what you said, is it's okay to not agree. Right? Like, there's no problem not agreeing. You can still be friends and you can still respect each other. You can still love each other and not agree with each other. Right? And also, you can have two contradictory opinions in your brain, right? Like, you can have two things that are, and they're both equally good. Like, both opinions are good. People are so polarized now, like, about things, right? But anyway, who's next?
Well, I know Sean has a question in the offing, but I want to continue to march through the event. So how about if we do the Crucible and then we take the question?
Yeah.
Just because I want to make sure we mention all those things. So February 18th, Matsumura Challenge, London, Ontario. Everybody on this call should plan to be there. February 25th, Ann Arbor, Michigan, the JMAC Crucible Winter Edition. And so a lot of people around know what that is, right? 12-hour lockdown event starting at 6 a.m. And you have to agree to stay until 6 p.m. and train with others in a positive atmosphere unless you leave in an ambulance.
Which has happened.
Which happened in the last Crucible. so I'm not just, although I do blow a lot of smoke, I'm not blowing any smoke in that case. Randy, what do you want to say about the Crucible?
One, you can't go anymore because people haven't signed up, and it's such a good event that we're sitting in 2022 in December. Actually, it was sold out like weeks ago. And now you can't go. Well, maybe you can go, but you'd have to beg somebody important like Sense of Legacy or Sense of Suino, somebody lesser like me. But I'm signed up. I've already paid my money. I'm already signed up. It's the most, I don't know, like, as far as the training experience goes, Sense of Suino, I've told you this, you got to increase the price. It is the best, cheapest experience you're ever going to find that's going to change your martial arts. You're going to do 4 hours of striking, 4 hours of throwing in judo, and 4 hours of grappling. And interspersed is going to be like so many things that build your mind, and you're going to do it with a bunch of supportive people who all want to help and who are super engaged and want to do this. I did it once and I lost 8 pounds. I don't know if you could tell on the camera, but I don't got 8 pounds to lose, but I lost 8 pounds once. Before I turn it over to Benson, who I know has done it, I'll say the most irritated I was at the last one when Setsuino said, all the people who have more than a year's experience of grappling come on the floor, and if you don't, go over there and watch them. And I was like, motherfucker. Like, I got a picture crucible sitting at the side of the room. And then what happened was it was an odd number. It was an odd number of people. So somebody had to come out, and he was like, Setsuno was like, okay, it's an odd number. And I just like jumped off the wall and ran over to you, Setsuno, and said, I'll go. And then I just kept creeping my way to the back because I was like, I'm not exiting out of it. And I just stayed on the floor for the rest of the time. Right.
Awesome.
Anyway, but it was great. And I want to say that on my level of experience with grappling, which is like low, white belt, like Setsuino was super kind to me, coached me, helped me through the whole time. Dan Holland was super kind, nice to me when I was rolling with him. Mike Mancini was super friendly and nice and coached me. I was still pushed. I was still sweaty. My arms still got bent in the wrong direction. I still got like choked out, but they were all nice about it. Like, I didn't feel unsafe while I was doing it. I love that event. I will never miss another one. I'm never going to miss one. I missed the very first one and I've never missed one since.
Sean, what do you want to say about the Crucible?
You know, I have been at different times in my life, and I'm actually very proud of this, a box ticker. Like, I'll get an idea like, oh, I want to do a triathlon in my lifetime. And then I go and I tick that box and it's like, I never need to do that again. Like, cool. You know, and there's been a lot of those things in my life, and because I'm a pretty curious dude. And the Crucible is one of those few things where it's like, well, I have to tick the box of a 12-hour can't leave martial arts event. And it's not just not a box to be ticked. I'm obviously not exaggerating when I say it was literally a life-changing event. And I want to be really clear, because I've said this a bit on the show, like, now it is in reverse engineered, led to my grappling and this and that, which I'm really happy with. But I came home from that event talking to my senseis about judo or BJJ. I was equally interested in both. And I pulled up the schedule and the location of the Toronto clubs near me. And already having, you know, a teacher an hour and a half and 2 hours away, I kind of wanted something close. And honestly, the judo schedule conflicted with my teaching in Toronto, and the BJJ didn't. And if those were flipped, I'd be on here talking about judo with you, senseis, you know. And I just want to say that because I came home ready to do either of two life-changing martial arts. It just so happened that schedule-wise, the one made more sense. And you know, when that integrated with my karate, you know, I'd always been like, let's take triathlons. It always bumped against my karate. It's so linear, it makes your hips tight. It's a great sport, and my Zenkutsus were awesome, but not much else got good in karate from triathlons. But everything in my striking arts has gotten better from grappling arts, and vice versa. And I just want to say that, yeah, that event changed my life. I missed the last one because of work, and I could never promise not to miss another one, but I'll never miss one I can get to. Life-changing. Life-changing.
Awesome. Love it. Love it. For so many people. What was the question that you had come in?
Oh, I like this question a lot, and we've touched on it in various shows over the years, but from Stavros, I know all of the wait, let's throw him on. Let's throw him on the show. That's
Stavros.
That's the deal. Sorry, Stavros, I almost bit your jam, bro.
Yeah, he's been to the Crucible. He's been to the Crucible. Yeah.
He's coming to the next one.
Coming to the next one. I think he might have been in the top 10 people who signed up first, I think. Yeah.
First two.
Yeah. His
He's
wife.
signed up pretty early.
There he is.
Can you hear me? Yeah, I'm not muted. Okay, cool.
Can hear you.
My question, we were talking about this a bit today in class. But I know all of you have been to Japan many times. And I'm wondering what is the most memorable part of going to Japan, whether martial arts related or not. Just I know that you've all been many times and we were talking about it today, and I was thinking about the host chat and I thought it'd be a fun conversation to have. So yeah.
Who do you want to ask that of first, Russ? You got to direct it.
Yep. Hanshi, could we start with you?
Well, everybody knows what it is, kneeling at Matsumura and Itosu's grave with Randy. And very, very close behind that is the grave of the 47 Ronin. And another would be going to tea master and going through the tea ceremony. That was so classy. You know, they just do a lot of things with class in Japan, especially in the arts. And this woman was a national treasure. Like, you know, you wouldn't want to try to grab her or anything like that. Your ass would be in jail for the rest of your life. But I would say going to the master of Shorin Karate was very meaningful to me.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Hanshi. Sensei Suino, how about you next?
Yeah, well, he lived there, so he's gonna.
Yeah.
He's like combing through his mind.
Seriously. Just pick one, Sensei Suino.
Fuck.
What was it?
I have thousands. And many of them were when I was young and stupid, or even stupider than I am now, and drunk. But oh my gosh, how do I answer that? If I had to pick one, it really is the moments at Yamaguchi Sensei's dojo when it was just him and me, a hot summer day, 90 degrees, 95% humidity. He gets up, he does a Iaido Waza. He sits down, I do it Iaido Waza. There's locusts in the background buzzing. And that goes on for 3 hours. And the only words that are said are something to do with the bend your knee more or how to hold the sword. That to me, right? And I have 4 years of once a week of those memories. And talk about life-changing. I literally owe the person I am today to those experiences. So I have to say that's the number one.
That's really great. Thank you, Sensei. Sensei Dolphin, what do you think is yours?
Okay, so I've been there twice. So first I'll say the beer and the ramen and the sushi, like both times, like are way different than they are here. Like personally, a training experience being in Ikihara's dojo and doing the kata anankyu, which is almost identical. Like there's one small stylistic difference, right? But then looking out of his window and you can see Shuri Castle right there while you're training in that dojo. Like that's pretty cool experience. And then I'll just share one, because I've been with Sensei Suino and I've been with Sensei Legacy. So with Sensei Suino, it's very personal thing. No, not that.
I know the temple. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Sensei Suino and I went to Meiji Temple alone, and somehow I had injured my ass cheek, my left ass cheek, and I limped from where you get off the train and go into Meiji Temple is a long walk. And we walked in and I was limping along, and Sensei Suino said, maybe we should go back to the hotel. Like, you're really struggling here. And I said, I'm not going to. We're going to be here for like another 9 days and I'm not going to let this. And then when we got to Meiji Temple, I did the thing. Like I washed my hands, I rinsed my mouth, I took my coin, I clapped my hands, I did all the stuff. And I said, God, please let my ass stop hurting. Like, I'm not exactly, like, that's what I said in my mind. God, please let my ass stop hurting. And then I got in trouble from the police for taking a picture and all this other stuff. But then as we left, Sensei Suino said, hey, you're not limping. Like, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know. My ass doesn't hurt anymore. And I was fine for the rest of the trip. There was no problem with my butt cheek. Right. But honestly, if there's only one thing I could go back and do again, I got a picture of it and I'm really proud of it. Just kneeling at the grave of Matsumura with Sense Legacy. I got a great picture of us just kneeling there and bowing. I also have a really good memory of Sense Legacy trying to break open his tomb to stuff our crest into the crew.
That's not true. I didn't do that.
But if they ever open Matsumura's tomb again, they're gonna find our crest in there, the Legacy Shorinru crest, and that's only a testament to how much we respect and love him for what he did for all of us. And yeah, I'm really proud to have knelt at the grave of Matsumura with Sense Legacy and bowed there. Like, so I know you asked for one, Stavros. I pontificated.
That's no
But
problem.
Sean's been there too. So let him.
Yeah. Sensei Benson, what about you?
Yeah, I love this question. I've been there a couple of times. I have 3, and one's training, one's adjacent, and one's not. I'll start with the training. I've told this story, so I won't make it too long, but it was going to Sensei Ikihara's, and I open the door and I say, Sensei Ikihara, and he literally goes, no. And I go, and he goes, no. And then I show him a photo of Hanshi Legacy, and he goes, oh, come in. So then he brings me and my girlfriend at the time upstairs, and we sit there, and, you know, he's got a book, and he's translating, and we're translating, and it's really lovely. And I have my gi and stuff, and I'm like, I'd love to train. And he goes, can't. And he just points to his leg. And I was like, oh, okay. And then we stay for a good hour, and we're just chatting and broken whatever. And he just keeps saying, you know, my leg's too bad, otherwise I'd train. I said, it's fine. And he goes downstairs, and I turn to Emily and I go, I don't care about the training. This is one of the coolest things I've ever done in my life. And then whatever, and he comes up a bit later, and he just looks at me like 10 minutes later, like we're sitting there alone, and he goes, you want to train? And I go, yeah. And he nods and goes, put your gi on. And we trained for an hour and a half, and he did not have a problem with his leg. And it was a pure Kill Bill moment. You know, and I really wasn't, like, from the moment I asked, and he said no, because of the training I've gotten from Hanshi and Sensei, is like, okay, well, that's the answer then. This is lovely to, I mean, the guy's home. We're already, more than enough has happened. And I learned Takata, and it was really special. The adjacent one is I was in Kyoto, just walking around. We were there for a while. I really loved that city. I connected with it. And there was a temple up a hill. I think I know which one it was, but I'd have to be there to be sure. And I went in and started meditating, you know, put some coins in, knelt down. I've meditated probably 1,000 times in my life. I've never lost time like that. I promise you, I don't know if it was 10 minutes or 2 hours. Everything went blank. And then some construction men came in, and it was the purest, most mindless meditation I've ever had. And the third one, you know, is unrelated to anything to do with martial arts. The first time I went, my girlfriend at the time was being given a hydrogen fuel cell car to lease from Honda as part of a pilot program. So Honda flew us over, and we were the guests of Honda Motor Corporation. And I mean, like, here's the president of Honda out for sushi next to me, asking me what motorcycle I ride, as I go, a Suzuki. You know, it was that kind of thing. But we were very well treated, but I really love cars, and we were taken to the factory, and we were shown all the models. We were shown the new Honda NSX. We were shown everything. She didn't end up getting the hydrogen car because she booked a job that meant she couldn't be in the town that had the pilot. But to go to Japan as the guest of Honda, there's no downside to it. Let me just put it that way. No downside. So I love that country. I could live there. Like, I could live in Japan. If you said you can't live in North America, it'd be France, obviously, or Japan. Nowhere else would I even consider.
Hey, Stavros, listen, because he mentioned Honda, and I can't let that go unchecked. When Sensei Suino and I were there, we walked literally for probably, I don't know, like at least 3 or 4 hours to try and find a Harley Davidson t-shirt for Sensei Legacy, which he still proudly wears because we brought it back for him. So that's one thing. The other thing I would say, because, you know, sorry, Honda sucks for motorcycles compared to Harley Davidson, but opinions vary, right? The tea ceremony that Sense Legacy mentioned was like incredible. Like, as far as a culture experience, that was like one of the best cultural experiences I've ever experienced. And then I went to a sushi dinner with Sense Suino that was like, I didn't pay because I couldn't go if I had to pay, but it would have been like $5,000 US for a sushi dinner that was like 12 courses. That was unbelievable. Those two cultural experiences, that tea ceremony and that sushi dinner, I felt like I knew more about Japan after going to those things than I could have ever learned from going to a karate dojo. Like, as far, yeah.
Are we feeling tight for time? Because I got a quick question I want to ask Stavros.
Ask him.
Stavros, you go to the Crucible. That's not nothing. I mean, that's travel time, that's hotels. You go to the Capital Conquest in Ottawa. It's such a pleasure to see you out on the street, like out of our gis and civilian clothes. You're technically, you know, a beginner at this art. What makes you go, I'm going to put my money, I'm going to put my time on this relatively new thing that maybe isn't before those things integrated into your life?
Yeah, before you answer, Stavros, I think he was a white or a yellow belt when he went to the Crucible, and I think he was a yellow or a green belt when he traveled to Ottawa to do the Capital Conquest.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think for me, one of the things is when I started martial arts, I'd always been interested in it, even from, you know, a kid, just never really did it until an adult. And I started and I just immediately kind of realized that this is something that I really am enjoying, something that I really want to do. And even though what we do is karate, I want to expose myself to different things and just learn a little bit about different things. And I think that's one of the coolest things about things like the Crucible or like Capital Conquest in Ottawa is, I mean, in Capital Conquest, I went to, I think 1 or 2 karate sessions. Everything else I did, I just tried to do just different things, just to expose myself to different teachers, you know, different styles, different things like that. And even though I'll always come back to the karate, I think it's cool to just try different things out and learn, you know, on the ground. At one, you know, like Sensei was saying that at the Crucible, there's 4 hours of striking. That was the first 4 hours. I felt super comfortable. Okay, I know this is good. This is good. The next 8 hours was judo and throwing and grappling on the ground. And I was like, I have no idea what's going on. I've never done anything like this. I'm super uncomfortable. But, you know, it was really cool. It was like, I learned a lot. And, you know, I think I could maybe, if somebody were on top of me, I'm like, okay, I know a little bit what to do. I need to shrimp, or I need to do this or whatever, right? Like little things like that stick with you, even if it's just one thing. So, I think it's just getting out there. I have the benefit that I'm an adult. I don't have any kids. I don't have any responsibilities. So for me, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go spend a weekend and have some fun. Right. And it's a nice thing. So I have a bit of a luxury in that for sure. But I think it's really just, I don't know. I like it. I want to try new things. I want to meet new people. One of the things that I've loved the most is the community. And so I think going to these things, you get to meet a lot of different people and then see some people that you don't get to see that often now that I'm starting to make friends, make connections. These are like an opportunity to just see these people that, you know, you only see a couple times a year. So that's another thing for me that I really liked about it.
Thanks. I just think it's such a cool thing. You know, I know as a white and yellow belt, I didn't know what a Richard Kim seminar was, and I regret not going. And I think I tell my students that. I'm like, I could have gone to a Richard Kim seminar and I didn't. And I don't know, even remember specifically seminar, but it's really cool when I see white and yellow belts. I'm like, great, they're not making the mistake I made.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Sensei. Thank you.
Yeah, it's cool. Thanks, Stavros.
Thank you all.
Getting some soup over here, so.
Awesome. Thank you all for answering the questions as well. That was really insightful.
Well, I'm disappointed we had to look at your face that whole time when she was in the room.
The late entry of the.
I was just a fly on the wall the whole time.
Oh my gosh, it's great to see you, Dreedy.
You too.
I want to say I'm happy that you guys bought that time calendar from my department from the University of Waterloo. I recognize it.
Yeah, we use it every day.
Yep.
So when you look at that time calendar, no, it's the biggest pain in the ass to try and ship to somebody in China who's a student at the University of Waterloo.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you again, all of you.
Cheers.
Happy holidays.
So aim to you.
Bye.
That, that answer, I've pictured while he was talking, just so much of Western University, 1993 to 96. Like, it's so lovely to remember that stuff, the beginning, and just go, man, what does drive us? Like, go tromping across the snow of the Huron Flats to go to this thing called karate that my roommates are like, what is karate? I'm like, I don't know yet.
I just keep thinking that he kept saying he was an adult. And he's the same age as Sydney. And then I was thinking about when I would say to Sensei Legacy oh, I'm an adult when I was like 24, and he'd be just smile at me.
You're not even serious or not a quitter at life yet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Martial arts.
But those people are awesome people. Like, they're such a big part of the Kitchener Dojo. You can just tell, like, yeah, they drank the Kool-Aid. Yeah. When I look at Stavros and Dridi, I see myself when I was their age. And how passionate I was at that time. Yeah. Reminds me.
I mean, we are winding down a little on time, but was there anything in your early days, like an event or a like something like that, where you went to something sort of above your pay grade, where you ended up going, oh crap, like I didn't realize what I was going to, or how did I end up here? Or, oh, I guess I'm doing this. Was there anything like that? Sensei Dauphin, I think you have one, right?
I got a bunch because everything was above my pay grade.
Right.
Because, for some reason, Sensei Legacy liked me when I was a white belt, and then he liked me when I was a yellow belt, and he liked me when I was a green belt. I remember once fighting with Sensei Legacy when I was a green belt. I remember showing up in Alumni Hall super early because I thought I'm going to clear the mats off of the floor and I'm going to do my katas by myself. And just as the mats were all cleared, he walked in the door. And then he was like, oh, I came in early because I wanted to train too. And then he's like, well, let's just fight. And of course, he kicked the crap out of me nicely, like not brutally. And then I remember people after coming in as we were fighting saying like, what do you mean I'm a brown belt? Like I haven't even fought Sensei Legacy yet, and black belts. And like, so like, I feel like everything I ever did was above my pay grade, right? Like from the time I was a white belt, and it's because mostly Sensei Legacy liked me, and I got to just be a tag along and be a fly on the wall. As I got to be above my pay grade the whole time. That's how I met Sensei Suino. It was above my pay grade when I met him. Right. So anyway, that's mine.
Sensei Suino, any early moments in your martial arts where you're like, how did I end up in this room? And
many. But one, Gage Sensei and I one year went out to California to train at Walter Todd Sensei's dojo. He was an OG, one of the pioneers of judo in North America, and he had a really, shall we say, rustic dojo in Oakland, California, and we were pretty accomplished. I don't know if either of us were even shodan in judo by then, but we've been doing judo quite a while. We had been doing karate, sort of dabbling in karate at that time, and so we did a bunch of judo and a bunch of other things. But then one day, Todd Sensei said, "Hey, I got a bunch of karate guys that I haven't seen in a while. I'm going to call them and have them come in." And this guy came in, John Choi, who was a really high-ranking Taekwondo guy, but also a Shudokan karate guy, and a great practitioner and fighter and everything else. And Todd Sensei just said, "You got 3 hours. John Choi, you're going to teach all these guys." And so it was such deep water. It was ridiculous. It was one of those things where you haven't learned to do a side kick yet, but you're doing like 30 minutes of side kicks. Remember how your hips felt in those days? And then we were sparring, and I was just like completely out of my depth. I was freaking at a party. Like I was so happy to be there and so out of my depth and in such pain. So, that was, oh my gosh, that was 78, 79, 80, maybe 1980, 1981, something like that. Great experience. Love having done it, but I'm sure my eyes were this big the whole time. Yeah.
Hanshi, what about you? Early moments of what the hell? This is above my pay grade and I'm lucky to be here.
Well, I tell you, I can't remember anything like that. I guess things were um, easy for me, just like Randy said. My teachers liked me, but the one thing I will never forget is going to I think it was Massachusetts somewhere and meeting Sensei Spino and Sensei Yamaguchi. That was big for me. I showed you a picture of my dad and a picture of Sensei Yamaguchi, there's a very, very close likeness. And I couldn't leave. There were 4 different places you went to do different things. After I finished that class, I didn't want to leave. So I said to Sensei Sandoval, can I stay here? And he granted my wish, and that's where we met. There was something in that ring that kept me there, and I think it's developed into something good for me in my entire life. And I got to train with a Mijin master.
And there was something about him, right? Not just the way he looked, right? There was, I mean, you saw what I saw, that the energy that came out of that guy was ridiculous, right?
What scares me the most when I'm going to fight somebody is if they're calm. That scares me. If a guy's all jumping around and ready to go, I know that his mind is full of stuff. And whereas when you do your art, you need to empty your mind. He was completely on a different level than all of us.
Changed my life too.
Yeah.
Thanks, senseis. I love that.
Well, listen, it's 10:01, Sean. So we're
Great.
as we go around the horn, I'd like everybody to provide 1 or 2 or 3 thoughts about just some gratitude for 2022. What are and don't go on forever. Like we all know we're grateful for each other. So let's cut each other out of the conversation for the around the horn. Like I know, like everybody knows we're all grateful for each other, but what are some other things that we're grateful for in 2022 as we're leaving this year going into the next? Go ahead, Benz, you go first.
The first is the journey of recovery. You know, I posted about it the other day that conscious recovery, the life on the other side of it is better than the life before it. And I've been able to experience that through like I'm talking about a physical thing this year. I'm grateful for Anais, my partner. I mean, I've never had a commitment that would lead me to propose to a woman and have her say yes. And there's a whole new platform down here in Toronto that we're living on, and it's just love and romance and heaven. And it's really awesome. And, you know, obviously I'm grateful for you. I do want to say very specifically, I'm really grateful that I have a partner running the Toronto Dojo named Alden Adair, because the club doesn't exist without him. I travel too much for work. There'd be no way to be consistent with white belts. And having a club that's growing in Toronto is one of the things I'm most grateful for in this world. And so I have to be grateful to him for that, because it doesn't exist without him. So I'll leave it at those 3.
Awesome, Sean. Says Espino, any gratitude points you want to leave with people?
Well, I am incredibly grateful for the students at JMAC who have just this year more than ever, they have just stepped into the training, and virtually everybody who's at JMAC just embraces the experience, supports others. They support me. I don't know what I did to deserve that, but I'm incredibly blessed. I know it's a cliche to say that you're thankful or grateful for your spouse, but my relationship with my wife is better than it's ever been. And I just feel a sense of spiritual connection with her that I'm so happy about. And the 2 of us created the third person I'm grateful for, which is my daughter, who's turning into an absolutely wonderful human being. One of the most moving moments in the permission event that I remember with clarity, Randy, is when you said about Sydney that she's your people. And that is 100% true of my daughter and me. And man, does that hit home, right? It's a really great feeling. And I hope it continues.
Thanks, Sensei. Sense of legacy, what do you want to, gratitude, what do you want to go out on?
Well, this year I really appreciated that people are doing our style of karate. We have 4 schools in BC. We now have a 7th, a 6th, 5th dance, 4th dance that are growing out there. And when we go out there and we come back, there is no difference in the way they do their karate. Nick McLaren is in charge out there and he does a wonderful job. There is no difference. When somebody steps in our dojo here, we step in it there, it's great. The other thing is this show, it's allowed me to really be able to meet a lot of different persons I would have never been able to meet. Like I got to meet Jean-Yves Thériault and I can't name everybody, but all the guys in that downstairs in the hotel. They were all there. I have a lot more friends. And finally, I think you'll appreciate this. I can finally go to the USA.
That's a good one. So Benz, before I pass it back to you for the housekeeping stuff, for me, gratitude is, it took me a long time. I'm going to piggyback on Sense of Suino. Took me a long time to find a relationship with a partner where, it's not if you're going to fight with a person, it's do you want to fight with them for the rest of your life? And yeah, while we don't fight a lot, I'm in it for the long haul with Christine. I met her 25, 26 years ago. We were friends. We've known each other forever. I'm super grateful for the relationship that I have with her and the things we're doing together. It provides me a sense of security that helps build up all this other stuff that we're doing together. Having a partner like that who just going home tonight, knowing I'm going home to that person is just such an amazing thing. And I'm blessed for it. And I guess on that side, the other thing I'm really grateful for are the relationships. We're talking about it. And I said we can talk about each other, but nothing could replace these relationships. Nothing could drive a wedge between these relationships. Nothing. There's nothing that could drive it. You're going to lose if you try and drive a wedge in between these relationships. And then just grateful for my physical health, the job that I have, the country that I live in. I have an abundance. And again, I don't know what I did to deserve the life I'm living, but I don't want to live any other life. I'm not looking somewhere else saying, I wish I was living that life. Right.
Yeah. You make me think of the idea, like if somebody said, hey, you can have $1 billion, but you don't get to talk to any of these other 3 guys again. It wouldn't even, like, my heart rate wouldn't even flutter. It would just be like, no, that's okay. Like my life's better for any, like it. And I hope everybody out there has that. I hope everybody has that. It's a beautiful feeling to just go, yeah, that's not that important compared to this.
Yeah. I'd say to them, how's it going to feel for me to stuff $1 billion up your ass, one bill at a time?
Well, listen, that's fine. That's fine, but we're taking the 200 million. We can still talk to each other.
200 million, yeah.
We're selling the show.
We'll sell the show. We'll sell the logs.
Right.
If you guys are okay, senseis, we won't bother talking about what's up in the new year. That's all going to be up online. Please go to Punch, Kick, Choke, Chat. But in terms of gratitude, we don't have a show without Robert Shlumsky, Alden Adair, Justin Shea, Andrei Sedashev, Jesse Vitow, and Daniel J. Holland III last week. So, we have a team behind the scenes and we're so grateful to them because those posts you see this all running fluidly, that's not us. And it's a beautiful thing to have a platform to offer this to you from. So that gratitude can't be overexpressed. And then even there, Robert put up the punch kick choke chat site so you can keep up with what's in the new year. But I think it's nice to go out on the gratitude, and less so than what we're doing next year, because you can all find that, and I know you will, and we're grateful for that. So nothing but love, everybody, and thank you, senseis.
Happy holidays, everybody. Happy New Year.
Holidays.
Merry Christmas. Have a great holiday.